Welcome, everybody, to the Friday Night Live call-in show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We are going to have a fantastic show. Glad to be here on a Friday. It's a Friday. It's always a Friday, if you think about it, for everybody at the end of your work week. Some of you in the middle of your work week. Just depends on where you work at. For most people, though, Friday is TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. The weekend is here. The weekend is upon us. This is your night to kind of relax, kick back, chill, and come join the conversation, right? You can always join the conversation right here on the Friday Night Live call-in show. The number, as it shows at the bottom of the screen, which is, I think, right there, right? Yeah. 856-843-3444, or that is 856 the you can definitely call this actually is not. It looks like we had a little hiccup there. Yeah, it looks like okay, you're going to join the stage here live. You can do it by calling the number normally, but we're going to have you go ahead and join the stage using the link that we have out here. And right before the show, I had actually update that happened on this computer, so I'm hoping that we get through this successfully. We should, as we go ahead, and just want to say thank everybody for coming on in. This show, as I've always stated, this particular show is about you guys. This is the time for you to come up on stage, talk about, there's been a lot of things going on within the UFO community. What are some of the things that you want to talk about? What are some of the opinions that you may have, or things that you may want to point out on things that have transgressed over the last week since we last talked, right? So this is always the place to do that. The link for you to join the stage, anyone can join the stage. Just please, no trolls if you can. Come on and really talk about the subject. We love to hear from, anyone that's available to come on out and talk, because I think everybody has something valuable to add to the conversation. Is nobody knows everything. Let's start there, right? So if you get on the show, you're watching the show, and it appears that the person on screen appears like they're acting like they know everything, or they have the answers to the questions, should change that channel and maybe come over to a show like this where we're all on an even playing field, just really trying to use truth and transparency to get to the answers for all these questions that we have in relation to the phenomena. I do want to start out. I do appreciate, as Cosmic Joe was in the chat earlier, giving love and sending out healing energies for my family, as we're still, we're still holding faith and staying strong as we work through this particular situation with the family member. As you know, it's been ongoing for now over a month now, and I really believe all of your healing energies are being received, and I'll kind of just leave it there. But I do appreciate everything that everyone has said, messages sent, and yeah, it just makes me feel real good. Makes me feel like this is the community that I thought it was. People caring about other people, really. That's all it is at the end of the day. You strip yourselves of your identities and beliefs and political ideals, religious ideals, and just come in as a human being, right? And human to human, I think the love is reciprocated from me to you, from you to me. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Let's try to spread this further outside, just our conversation, and hopefully the world can pick up on some of this stuff here. As we get ready to go ahead and get into some stuff here, let me go ahead and take a look at who has come on in the chats. We have Woo Rider DG, who has stepped in the building. As I said, Cosmic Joe Chronicles came by a little earlier and showed some love. We had Lil Cal 51 became a YouTube member, and we do appreciate that. That's actually a perfect time to stop and say, You too can become a YouTube member right here on this channel. Become a social soldier today. You can do that by clicking the link. If you look in the description of each and every video that we do on this channel, you'll see a link that allows you to become a member. And really what that does is it helps support the channel, right? Because I like to make sure that we're constantly raising the bar, that we're able to do things that small channels just can't do without support. So any and all help is needed and appreciated. Also, super chats are always open as an option too, if you don't want to commit to that. But any and all help is appreciated and needed. It really helps us keep these conversations going. So with that being said, Lil Cam 51 became a new member. We do appreciate you, Lil Cam 51, as well as I said before, Carmen Joe just stopping through, giving many blessings to me and my family, which I do appreciate. Kurt M in the building. I see Kurt M out there talking about hi all. Hey Kurt M, appreciate you showing on up to the show tonight. Okay, audio over modulating. Okay, let me go ahead and address that. Let me make sure. Let me check a setting real quick here. Glad we caught that. I really appreciate that note there. Let's see, Tech, Mateo, let me see. All right, I'm going to make sure. Let me do this here. Very strange, I don't see one of my settings in here, but that's okay. Okay. All right. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if audio is sounding different, sounding better. Sounding different, sounding better. A little loud but good. Okay. Maybe I can adjust that a little bit. Let me bring it down just a tad. Are we doing good? No. Okay. Still not good. Let me check something else here. Give me just a moment. Anything different since last show, so we should be good to go. I do see, it looks like, yeah, that limit line is pretty high. Give me just a second here. Yeah, this happened one other time. I know, let me see here. Give me just a moment here. Okay, let me try that. All right, check. Yep, still high. Check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Let me bring it down. Mic check, mic check. Is that better, guys? Is that better? All right, we looking good. We just had a Windows update. Windows always screws it up. Okay, too low now. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let me know. Are we looking good? Adjusting. Check, check, check. Are we good? Much better. Much better. Okay. Great. Appreciate you guys. See, that's how we work together. Working together as a community, as a team. And I do appreciate that because who wants a show where the audio is just not really good, right? That's what I'm talking about. Okay. As we get ready to get back into here, let me get back into the chat. I saw a few other messages here. Let's see. Okay, yep. Woo Riders DG is out there. Yeah, the social dig Rob GZ. Bring in the receipts for all you ufology peeps. Can you dig it? I like that because it is all about receipts, Derek Galloway. Make sure that you always remember that it is all about receipts. If you have them, bring them to the table. This community cannot just be based off of stories and lore, and we need to have receipts. So, Bad Frankie B in the building, member for 12 months. I do appreciate that too, Bad Frankie B. Keep up the great work, Rob. Thank you so much, Bad Frankie B. doing what I can, and I think there's going to be. I have the feeling that there's going to be some sort of escalation for this channel, also the topic as well. But I think as far as what we're talking about in the way that we approach it, I anticipate some escalation and growth here. So appreciate you guys. Let's see. All right. Mons Paradigm 5, appreciate you coming on into the show. Appreciate you showing on up. Let's see. Yes. Hey, Robbie Jason, and all my positive energy and love to you and your family. Good to see you all. Thank you so much. It is very much appreciated. And I got to tell you, this is more than just words. I mean, this is a real, healing energy is a real thing. I've told you the story about my little puppy, my ladybug is what we call her. And I got to tell you, I've seen healing energy work live and in person. So it is a real thing. So when we say that, it's not just words. When someone puts in a chat, sending healing energy and love, it's a real thing. Believe me. And we'll get more into that at some other time. Do appreciate that. We got Roger Murray, always dropping knowledge, always giving us that good data. Rest in peace, David Wilcock, passed away age 53. Roger Murray is out of the hospital, which is awesome. Do I have a round of applause? If you can hear that, round of applause for Roger Murray getting out that hospital. We appreciate you getting back home, and that's all we can wish and hope for. So, Roger Murray, thank you so much for coming on in, being a part of the community, and we send you healing energies as well. So, thanks for that. And David Wilcock, yeah, we're going to get into some of that stuff and all that and more. I do want to get this thing started. We do have guests in the back that will be coming forward here in just a moment. But I want to get this thing kicked off because, as you remember, if you watched this show a few weeks back, we talked about some of the missing, the whole missing scientist thing and the connection to the UFO topic. And I told you guys, there was when I initially, because obviously with the stuff I've been dealing with, I haven't been able to tune into everything, and I hadn't really, I saw the story on McCaslin, and I saw, they were talking about a UFO connection there, and I just didn't see it. We had a show where Paramarv came through, shout out to Paramarv, gave us this document, which actually kind of put all the pieces together. It made it more of a puzzle that we put together that showed that a lot of these things are connected. And then a lot of news stories have been backing that up. A lot of people in the community are talking about that. And the numbers that they're starting to add are growing, actually, as we go. So let me go ahead and get you, let's get connected with the latest news on this, and then we will get to talking about this. So let me go ahead and really look at a couple things here as we prep ourselves for the conversation. So let me get this queued up. And this was Lou Elizondo, who was in an accident recently, riding home from his from some, I think he said his business, and without a helmet. So wear your helmets. And had a horrific crash, almost passed away. But he's here, he's on the news, and he's talking about this. Let's hear what Lou Elizondo had to say about this.
What are we getting wrong about this? Why should we keep looking at it?
Well, look, anytime you have experts...
Are you getting any audio? I'm not hearing anything here.
Either disappearing or in some cases dying in premature...
Give me just a second here. The audio should be playing here.
This, why should we keep looking at it?
Well, look, anytime you have experts in the national security arena either disappearing or in some cases dying in prematurely and not necessarily a natural way, we have to at this very closely. It can even to the 1940s during the Manhattan Project, when we knew Russia was trying to target a lot of our scientists and try to learn some of our atomic secrets. This is nothing new. What is new, though, is that we have these scientists, these engineers, and senior military officials that are completely unaccounted for. Some of these individuals had very high security clearances, top secret SCI security clearances. Anytime that would happen in any other country, Russia, China, obviously would be a problem. This is happening here in the United States, and there are some very interesting common ties that at least some of these individuals have with one another, and that is the UAP topic, ironically enough.
So, and you say this isn't you referring to culture or history. You're saying you talked to some of these people and what happened doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. In fact, several of the people that you have on your list right there that you showed, I personally spoke with years ago and talked to myself. And it was about the UAP topic and their work in that arena. But there's also, you said something, and it's absolutely accurate. There's other individuals that are not on that list that I am actually be associated with it. There is an individual that somebody Chris Mellon, who's been on your show before, was going to talk to about 2.5, 3 years ago. He was a few days away from meeting this individual. He was an engineer, apparently on the legacy U.S. government legacy UAP effort, and mysteriously died right before the meeting. There's another individual whom I spoke with. He reached out to me. I'm going to protect his identity here for the sake of his family, but he did meet an untimely end. He was a senior special agent at the Department of Energy, and he worked specifically in the Inspector General's shop, the IG shop. He was the most senior special agent for the Department of Energy, and he was talking to me about coming out and talking to Congress about what he knows within DOE and the files, the UAP files that they're holding on to. He was very upset, and he felt like he was a whistleblower. So I was arranging for this individual to actually meet with certain members of Congress. His wife, who is a doctor for the Veterans Affairs, walks in one evening after work and finds him dead on the sofa. Now, this was during COVID, but from my understanding, there was never any positive, if you will, connection between COVID and his death. He was relatively young. He wasn't an old guy. He wasn't particularly sick. He was healthy. He was athletic. So there are more individuals, and certainly I think the FBI should do exactly what they said they're going to do. You have folks like Anna Polina Luna that are working very hard behind the scenes, also trying to, you just had her on your show, that's trying to get some additional clarity into this. There was another individual that Dave Grush used to work with. His call sign was Quake, and he was going to go public and talk to Congress. And unfortunately, he was in Washington, D.C. at a hotel, and they him dead as well. So we want to be careful to scare people. This is all UFOs and conspiracy that they're trying to keep people like us quiet. But I can tell you, as a matter of fact, I myself and other individuals whom I know, and Congress can tell you the same, have actually been threatened before. So it is about time that the government takes this very, very seriously. Whether they're just missing,
Good.
they want to take an extended vacation, or they're dead. We need answers, and we need them now.
We got to know. Well, Lou, here's my pledge. I'm a call away. You learn anything, you want anything asked, you want it out there, you call me, it's done. Keep recovering. I'll see you soon. You look great.
All right, so let me go ahead and all right. Scientists are missing, right? Okay. So it's seeming like there's going to be more and more and more individuals that are going to be coming forward, or at least being shown that a lot of other people have had connections here with coming up missing or passing away. And we actually have something we're going to look at. First, shout out to Area 51 coming through with the amazing super chat, $35. Area 51, the GOAT. Area 51 is the GOAT. And I appreciate you, man. And I'm glad to see you back as well. Thanks for coming on into the show here. And I saw you got something going on your channel, so make sure that we shout out that you have a channel as well. And let's make sure we check out Area 51, guys. But once again, thank you for that awesome super chat. Also, Kitty Catty Whack, thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up to the show here. I think it's going to, and they talk about this. They talk about, and we know that behind as far as like the whole Manhattan Project, we know they've off scientists. We target scientists all the time of adversarial nations in order to kind of disable the ability for other nations to advance themselves in particular areas, right? And we know that happened with nuclear weapons. Is the same thing happening with the reverse engineering aspect of the UFO topic? It would make sense if we know that China has a reverse engineering program. We know Russia does as well. It wouldn't be out the realm of possibility for us to target their particular people who are working in those areas in order to do this. Let me go ahead and bring our guy from the back here. You know who he is. He's Mateo C Tech. What's going on, buddy?
I'm doing well, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. This is getting kind of sticky, man. This missing scientist thing is really turning into something. You have a lot of people weighing in opinions on this, and it's just really seeming like there's more to it. The more and more that this goes, that it literally might be tied to suppression of the at least reverse engineering aspect, probably more. What are your thoughts on this before we jump into the next little clip here?
Well, first off, I just want to say glad to see you. I sent you an email earlier, like Cosmic Joe and everyone else has been giving you love toward your family, and I was
Appreciate it.
at work, and I was happy to see that you did a notification to do the show. So I said, things must be good. So good to see you, as we're all happy to see you as well. Regarding what's going on, you just hit the nail on the head. It seems like these people are all from the military industrial complex. Some are government, but a lot aren't. So that's kind of talking and saying, wow, maybe the whistleblowers who are working for Lockheed Martin and do have their hands on the goods, as you and I have talked about many times before. Maybe they were thinking about coming out and letting the world know what it is they're working on, which is really where the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. That's where it's happening. So I'm wondering if maybe these people were being silenced. Scary, but very possible.
And then the whole aspect, right, of talking about how, in just regular warfare, we target their scientists, they target our scientists, and a lot of people are framing it as if maybe this is foreign assets who are here targeting our scientists, that's still in play for me. That definitely would make sense, just as we spoke about a moment ago. If they think we're further along with reverse engineering, maybe they think that, from what a lot of people talk about, there's a lot of these things that they're seeing are our assets, right? Then it would make sense that these adversaries would attempt to target our scientists. So it could be that. That's still in play for me. But then it's also the obvious fact of the secret coming out, period, and then our own government actually stepping in and wanting to silence those who have knowledge or would be able to give information, more detailed information on some of the things that are going on. Now, the number had grown. And this is what was troubling to me and kind of made me want to look at this, because it seems like, or it appears that maybe we might end up with this entire web of individuals at the end of the day that they end up bringing to the table. As Lou Elizondo stated, there was someone that he knew of that he wouldn't give the name of. A couple of people, actually. Someone David Grush knows as well. And it wasn't clear if those people were included in this list or not. I think he said at least one of them was not. So it just feels to me that this thing is actually growing by the day. I actually had this clip here that I wanted to play, which was when I was looking into this. So we saw the 10 or 11 that they were at, and there was actually more individuals that they have brought to the table. And actually, we're going to end up looking at one of these as well that isn't even listed in this next clip. So let me go ahead and bring this up here. This is the additional individuals that appear to have come up missing here. Let me get the audio set up for us here. All right, let me take this back here. Let me bring this up on screen for us here. Here we go. All right, this is late. This actually came out today.
2 more people are linked to the mysterious web of dead or missing American scientists and researchers, bringing the total number to 13. Deputies are reviewing the death of NASA nuclear engineer Joshua LeBlanc, who was killed in a fiery car crash last July after he went missing without his phone and wallet. Also under review and new scrutiny tonight is the death of David Wilcock, a paranormal UFO researcher and writer whose death was ruled a suicide. We're also learning that several scientists from China have also turned up dead, too. Joining me now is NewsNation national security contributor Tracy Walder. Great to see you, Tracy. So let's start with the 13 American cases. Joshua LeBlanc didn't have a phone and a wallet. Very strange, like some of the others who have gone missing. On top of that fact, all 13 worked in related fields. To a lot of people watching, these may be obvious connections, government work, maybe secret clearances, but no agency that any of them worked for has definitively said that they are connected. So from an investigative perspective, what are we missing here?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Katie. I think the key in this case is what they didn't leave their home with, right? You mentioned before that really all of them, particularly the ones that are still considered to be missing, out their essential personal effects, so things like keys, wallets, that kind of thing. And so I think that's key. It is true, most of the agencies have said that none of them were working on that exact same project, but I think they don't have a choice in this investigation to go to all of these agencies and figure out exactly what it was that each of them are doing. And unfortunately, that's going to take some time, which isn't great when you have some people who are still missing.
So on that point, the people on the list there's a range of what they did and where they worked. A retired Air Force general, NASA lab director. Is it normal for the government not to know what's happening with such high profile people, or there are enough people working inside these agencies with these types of jobs and security clearances that maybe they wouldn't think twice about something happening to them just in the realm of life after they either left their job or maybe just went out for a walk?
I think it's the latter, not the former. Listen, in these agencies and even at the CIA when I worked there, we don't necessarily know always what the other person is doing simply because the clearances we have are all compartmentalized, right? And so I think that's part of the problem too, is that they don't all know what they were doing. And the government, quite frankly, doesn't know. The FBI doesn't even have clearance to what some of these individuals are doing. They're going to have to be read into that. And I think that's going to be problematic.
So China, of course, is no stranger to having their scientists go missing or disappear or end up dead. The Wuhan lab researcher who was labeled patient zero after the COVID-19 outbreak disappeared, was never found, typical of Chinese Communist Party behavior. But is it possible, we've heard this from a number of congressmen, that there could be a national security implication here, that this could be some kind of tit for tat between the U.S. and China, or is that taking it a step too far?
So I'm just going to give my opinion. I feel that it's a step too far. Listen, I completely agree with you that this is an MO that we have absolutely seen of the CCP. They have definitely engaged in that in some of their scientists, as well as some of their dissidents as well. There's no question. But the issue is I just look at the trade craft that I know China works when I worked Chinese counterintelligence and nuclear weapons. I think the issue is that's not how our espionage tradecraft works. We want people alive, and we want people to have access to current information. If you look at McCaslin, he's been retired for quite some time.
Right. That's true. Tracy Walder, thanks for joining us. Great to see you.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
All right. So, with that being said, so you have a couple of other people they mentioned here, and one of them, David Wilcock, right? So, rest in peace, David Wilcock, as we said at the beginning of the show. Would you, and I don't know, I don't necessarily see that connection. I don't know why they lumped them in there like that. What are
I
your
was going
thoughts
to
on
ask
that,
you
Mateo? Do you
exactly.
really feel like, yeah, what do you think about that?
When I read about him and dug into it a little bit, whenever it was, a couple days ago, I think it was Wednesday when it went down, or Tuesday, I felt the same way. I didn't think he was part of that same group, because the group isn't made up of ufologists, right? He's, if we want to, I know you don't like that word, but we'll call him a ufologist for now, because that's really what he did. He wasn't a scientist for the government or for any of the government contractors. So I didn't really put him in the same category, but it does seem strange, right? That, he is related to the phenomenon, of course. But there is some speculation about what the cause of death was, right? They're thinking it was suicide. I watched some other video too about how just a day or two before he died, he was on some podcast, a video podcast, and he basically said he was, it seemed normal, but he did say that he had just come back from being away for a while to try to get stuff taken care of. So there was obviously something going on in his life that wasn't good and had taken him away from what he normally does. So I don't know. It's a little suspicious there. So personally, and I was going to ask you, but the topic obviously came up here. I don't put him into the same category with the other 11 or 12 scientists that they've got. What do you think?
And it's funny you bring that up because I did, once I heard about this, I did go and look at his page. He posted often. He posted very recently, as of I think like 5 days ago. By all accounts, for me, seemed to be okay, but you never know with people, right? What's going on the inside, right? But they're pointing out something that he said during his podcast, and I want to go ahead and play it because I think it kind of leans into what we're talking about here. This is what he said, and you can kind of hear for yourself how he's judge for yourself, rather, how you think he's thinking or what he's feeling, and if maybe this comment had something to do with. It's just peculiar that they jumped to that and after him making a statement like that. Let me bring it up 1 second here.
Here with me today. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. Every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary. I got to say, it's a little bit scary, but you guys knew that I might still show up, even though I've had a rough week, it's kind of like every week, but now we keep on through this. Somehow we grinding our way through this thing and keeping on track and having it work out. So, my God, the big thing, of course, is this Iran-Iraq, well, not really Iraq, but Iran war and how it's all turning into these, the tea always chicken.
Yeah, that was the video I had seen.
So before we get all into the, well, with that being said, I mean, what were your thoughts on? I mean, he's basically talking about it. Doesn't I don't know why he would be the target of something like this. I just don't think that. I think it might be a mistake to obviously jump to that conclusion. All you can really say is that he's someone related to the UFO topic that recently passed away, and it seems like weird circumstances, but at the same time, like I said, you never know what's really going on with a person on the inside. To me, just kind of from what he was saying, you guys didn't think I would be here, and it seemed like maybe he had some things going on in behind the
Right.
scenes, which made him make that statement. So, what were your thoughts on that? How did you feel when you heard him say this? Does it make you feel any more that he might be tied to the missing scientist, or that it's probably something we shouldn't even be focusing on?
I agree. I don't think it's something we should be focusing on. When I heard he said he had a rough week, and as Woo Riders just pointed out, he went through a divorce. There are issues in his life. Now he was maybe sad. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. He may have been suffering, and he was trying not to let the world know that he was suffering, and he offed himself like that, and that's not good. So I have a feeling it has nothing to do with what happened to the other scientists. So it's a separate case, tragic, but not related.
Very tragic. Once again, condolences to the family. You never can prepare yourself enough for something like that to happen, and definitely just really feel you know, I can understand what the family must feel like, not expecting something like this to happen, and very very tragic once again. But I do want to go through some of the individuals here that we see on the screen. Obviously, we just talked about David Wilcock, but there are other people listed here as well. One of the more famous, I wouldn't say famous, one of the more people with more focus on their story would be the Amy Eskridge story. And kind of, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I have a brief something on her. She ended up passing away, 34 years old. She was the co-founder of the Institute for Exotic Science in Huntsville, Alabama, near the Redstone Arsenal. She focused on experimental propulsion, plasma physics, anti-gravity, electrogravitics concepts, and exotic materials. She collaborated with her father, a NASA-linked plasma fusion engineer, and gave presentations on anti-gravity prototypes. Some reports link her work to advanced aerospace ideas overlapping with UFO propulsion theories. She passed by self-inflicted unaliving on June 11th, 2022 in Huntsville, ruled unaliving by her own means. She actually claimed at the time she was alive, she claimed harassment, threats, and sabotage after, quote, discovering anti-gravity, and stating in interviews that her life, quote, went to blank expletive and people sabotaged her work. She discussed plans to disclose related tech and alleged involvement of private contractors or directed energy issues. Family and father have rejected conspiracy claims, noting personal struggles. Some online texts from her express fear, but no direct proof of someone on the outside unaliving her. The police investigated. Apparently, no foul play found, and she's been obviously added to this list of missing or scientists who have passed away mysteriously. Uh, what do you know about Amy Eskridge? Have you heard her story? Or
I have not, and I was listening intently to what you were talking about. It's interesting what her father did, and her ties to the scientific community. But yeah, it's hard to say. She obviously was working in and around that, the scientific community for the government. what she was working on precisely, unclear. So, no, I'm not familiar, and learned a little bit from what you just said. And hard
Yeah.
to say. I mean, I was just doing some statistics, and I'm not trying to discount any of this, but I'm going to just say it. There are a lot of people who work for the government. And it's like it's on the order of like 3 million if you look at the whole government as a whole. I mean, I think the CIA is 25,000 or something like that. If you take any group of 25,000 people and you look at and you watch them for 6 months, guess what? People are going to die. It's
Right.
just
Right.
it's just probability. And like I said, I'm not trying to say that this isn't strange. None of this is strange, but you know, out of all the people, you know, there are a lot of people dying in the government every day just from natural causes. And, you know, I don't know, it seems like they've kind of focused in on this, and, you know, they all seem to be kind of unrelated to each other. And I don't know. I haven't put a lot of stock in it. I don't think that this is some big conspiracy going on. At least I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, let's keep going down the list here.
Going
We
down the
have
list.
the image down at the bottom, the Michael David Hicks. There's no image for this person here, but apparently he was 59 when he passed. Background and role. He was a physicist and research scientist in NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory from 1998 to 2022, which is the same year she passed. Okay. Specialized in comets, asteroids, and planetary science. Contributed to the DART, or Double Asteroid Redirection Test Mission, for asteroid deflection and other deep space projects. Passed July 30th of 2023. Cause not publicly released at the family's request. He had a chronic medical condition per relatives. I think maybe this is one of the people they talked about that passed maybe from cancer or some serious disease. There were a few of them that did. UFO program connection, NASA JPL space research, no direct UFO ties alleged beyond institutional affiliation with missions that some theorists link to planetary defense or exotic tech observation. Status of investigation, natural or health related. Obituary emphasized his scientific and artistic passions. No suspicion of foul play. And I think we'll move on to gentleman in the upper right corner, second from the right. And his name is Frank Mywald. Passed away at age 61 in 2024. His background and roles: a principal researcher, engineer at NASA's JPL, managed development of instruments like the SBG VSWIR for Earth surface biology / geology mapping, and contributed to AMRC, SWOT, all these acronyms, Jason 3, and other Earth observation space missions, including those searching for signs of life on moons like Europa and Enceladus. Fate passed away July 4th, 2024, in Los Angeles. No public cause disclosed. His UFO or program connection would have been the JPL NASA work on space instruments, tenuous links via institutional role in planetary science, sometimes speculated in UFO circles as related to anomaly detection. Status of the investigation: no foul play indicated. Obituary highlighted his technical contributions. And
Interesting.
moving on, we have, and
Just
I'll
one
see if
thing,
this
Rob,
person is
before you
listening.
move on.
Sure.
You've already said it, I think, 3 times now. There's JPL seems to be a common thread between a lot of these people. So the projects that they're working on may not, you know, what they've told the world about what the projects are that they're working on seem innocuous, right? Seem, you know, planetary defense and satellites that map the geology and the biology of planet Earth. That's, you know, all of that seems kind of non-controversial, right? But what could they be working on? What could they have seen, like you just said here with this Frank guy. Like if he is making a satellite, and we've heard this before in the past, where some of the methods and means of detection and the methods that they use to monitor our adversaries from space have picked
Mm-hmm.
up the phenomenon, right? So maybe these people were witness to that. And so they knew that there were things going on. And so they may have had knowledge, even though they weren't, directly working on, UAP related stuff. They may have come across, irrefutable proof that, things are going on. And maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe that's what the common thread is. Anyway,
Or
keep
even
going. I just-
Star Wars related stuff, right? To say planetary defense, whether that's
Right.
planetary defense from adversaries here on Earth or from something coming from the outside. And I think that's when we talk about planetary defense, I think that's probably with them knowing, and I say them, not necessarily these individuals, although it seems they were in positions to potentially know or have some idea about this stuff. But planetary defense against something coming in from the outside, I think, is probably a big thing, and maybe that's what links everybody together. Is something along those lines. But I guess as the story goes, we'll be able to put this together. We have also, if you look at the top left, third from the left, Monica Reza, who was 60 when she passed away. Background and role was aerospace, metallurgical engineer, and material scientist. Worked at NASA's JPL, Director of Materials Processing Group, and previously as a technical fellow at Aerojet Rocketdyne. Co-inventor and patent holder for the Mondaloy, a specialized nickel-based superalloy for high-performance rocket engines and burn-resistant materials. Had professional ties to Air Force Research Laboratory projects. She passed on, or disappeared rather, June 22nd, 2025. This is the one who disappeared while hiking with friends, which is crazy to me. Disappeared June 22nd, 2025, while hiking in the Angeles National Forest near Mount Waterman, California. Last seen 30 feet behind a companion, smiling and waving, vanished suddenly despite group proximity. Extensive searches, including drones, yielded no body or trace. Okay. UFO and program connection. Advanced materials for aerospace rockets relevant to propulsion tech. Prior collaboration with McCaslin's Air Force Lab. Some theorists link superalloys or exotic materials to alleged UFO reverse engineering. The status of the investigation is still an open missing persons case. Body never recovered. Obviously no evidence of foul play at this point. That was one of the ones that, for me, okay, that there's no explanation for that except for she had to be kidnapped by something. Someone removed her. Someone or something removed her from the scene because she's 30 feet behind friends hiking and then just disappears into thin air. If it all it would take is for that group of individuals to backtrack the path they took, and if she had fell off of something or became injured, it would simply be a matter of backtracking the steps that she took. So unless they were in on her disappearing, which I'm sure they probably investigated that initially. I'm sure that was the aspect. Then they took drones up there. That one right there just doesn't compute. It only leads to someone or something removed her from where she was, and then you hear she was tied in. What she was tied into, it just makes that one right there stands out as likely, probably something that's directly tied to missing because of involvement with the UFO subject.
Agreed. Yeah, it's weird. Like, was she abducted out of thin air? Right behind her friends, stepped into some sort of vortex that took her away. Who knows? But yeah, that one's weird. I'm sure they investigated it thoroughly because you can't be on a hiking trip and say your friend went missing and not be suspected of foul play. So I'm sure they investigated it thoroughly.
Immediately. That's the first thing they did. Obviously, that's what they did. And so they come to a no foul play as a conclusion. And it, there was a bear. We have black bears here in California. So black bear drags her off. Pretty sure she'd be screaming. There isn't anything that sits right. And Magneticus says, West Coast wood ninjas. Magneticus, maybe. I mean, there's something unexplainable there. That's the one, as we go, that one right there, I just can't try to explain that away from me. That's what I would like. What's the opposing view of what probably happened if you're coming from a skeptical standpoint? If you want to say that this is not related to this, then please give me something that says something different. I would love to hear it. But moving on, let me see. I think I have. Let me see. I want to make sure. Is she on here? I don't see her on here. There's a few names that aren't on this image here, but I do have Steven Garcia. I believe Steven Garcia is on here. Yep, upper left. Steven Garcia, missing 2025. His role, background and role, he's a government contractor, property custodian at Kansas City National Security Campus, manufactures non-nuclear components for nuclear weapons, held top secret security clearance, disappeared August 28, 2025 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, last seen leaving home on foot carrying a handgun. I guess I could say that. Maybe I can't, but oh well, I just did. Police noted possible risk to self. UFO program connection, nuclear weapons related facility and clearance, part of broader nuclear program speculation. Status of the investigation is ongoing, treated potentially as a self-harm risk. So he's missing, was not located, but obviously if you've ever been in the desert out here, you could kind of probably go somewhere out here and not be found for a pretty long time, right? Years. It's vast as far as the desert goes out here. And yeah, I've driven through the desert for hundreds of miles with just open desert and just places people could disappear. Just so it's not off the realm of possibility. Let me see, who else do we have on this list that I have listed here? Okay, we got the Joshua LeBlanc, who they just talked about, aged 29, actually. His background and role, and he was found deceased. NASA electrical aerospace engineer working on nuclear propulsion projects. He passed on July 22nd, 2025 in a fiery Tesla car accident. UFO program connection. NASA nuclear propulsion, sometimes speculated in advanced energy or UFO context. Status of the investigation, accident. Family has questioned circumstances in some reports, but no confirmed link to others. So doesn't really go into too much detail there. But moving on to the gentleman in the upper right corner, Nuno Loureiro, aged 47. Background and role, plasma physicist, director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, led major fusion energy experiments for the U.S. and Europe. Passed away. He was fatally shot December 16th, 2025 at home or a related location in a targeted incident tied to a rivalry with another scientist, Claudio Manuel Nueves Valente, who was, I guess, charged for this. UFO program connection, fusion plasma physics, relevant to advanced energy or propulsion concepts, some link to UFO tech. Status of the investigation, obviously homicide with identified perpetrator, not a random incident. So depending on how you position that, I don't know why they would tie him to this list. We also have, let me see, the gentleman on the lower left corner, Carl Grillmar, aged 67, background in role, retired Caltech astrophysicist, astronomer at the Infrared Processing and Analysis Center. He collaborated with NASA and JPL, worked on exoplanets, galactic structure, dark matter, NEO surveyor missions, and water detection around exoplanets. He was shot and unalive February 16th of this year outside his home in a carjacking homicide. Suspect was arrested and charged. Had prior trespassing incident at the property. This UFO program connection, NASA linked space telescope planetary research, no direct UFO ties. Status of the investigation, obviously solved homicide unrelated to victim personally per police. Okay, I mean, maybe one that you can take off the list. And I think it's important to kind of, not lump everybody into this, right? Because if you just look at the story and you kind of look at some of the details, you're like, oh, okay, this is weird. It's 13. The number keeps growing. But then you look into some of the cases and it's like, well, how was this even related? How does this how does this person make the list as far as mysterious? Well, I guess on the face of it, I don't know if it's mysterious, right? If you have a person that did this and then they're charged, then it's simply a homicide. Unless this person is working for someone, the person that perpetrated, then I don't know why this person makes this list. But it doesn't make their disappearance or death any less relevant. It's still, condolences to all families related to any of these individuals. But speaking from a place of, should we be including these names in this particular, missing disappearance thing? I don't know if that one makes it for me. Obviously, we have William Neil McCaslin, which is second from the left here. This is how this got all kicked off. This list here, age 68, background and role, retired U.S. Air Force Major General, former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, the AFRL at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, long rumored in UFO lore for Roswell debris, oversaw classified aerospace space weapon programs, had ties to Los Alamos, brief post-retirement association with UFO UAP advocacy groups, for example, To the Stars, disappeared February 26th or 27th of this year after leaving his home in New Mexico. Searches, including thermal drones, hindered by weather terrain, no trace found. UFO program connection, strongest direct link, oversaw UAP or UFO related military investigations historically, Wright-Patterson UFO rumors, consulted on government UFO files, wife acknowledged brief UFO community ties, but emphasized common clearances only, chronic health issues, and no, quote, special alien knowledge. Some reports note he disappeared shortly after the UFO disclosure related announcements by Donald Trump. Status of the investigation, FBI involved in review. Sheriff found, quote, no evidence of foul play. And then says wife rebutted this misinformation. So that's the one that got it all kicked off. Let me see if we have.
That got kicked off. I was just looking at that, and it was the one that got it all started. And that one is suspicious because we still don't know where the guy is. He does have ties to the phenomenon. So I was looking to see Google Gemini summarized this whole situation and what the whole group as being brought together by the internet community after William Neal McCasland. That whole thing is really what started it off. So whether or not the rest of the group is justified as being lumped in with him they're all part of the same peculiar situation that's tied to some common thread is unclear. So I agree with you what you said earlier. It's like, how can they all say these are tied and related to something going on? Yes, there are several that are suspicious, but a car fire and somebody getting killed as a result of a carjacking attempt,
Yeah, it's like unless you when you look and that, to kind of go further on that, if you look at the perpetrators in those, they were caught. So if there was some now when you look into the perpetrator, if you have no motive and there's some weird stuff going on there where it doesn't make sense, or maybe they had the perpetrator had ties to other things, then maybe that's what makes this weird, or gives it the ability to add to this list. But without any other context, it doesn't seem like some of these should be on here. Looking at Melissa Casillas, I think I skipped over her. She's in the middle, smack dab in the middle, top row. Age 53, background and role, administrative assistant with security clearance at Los Alamos National Laboratory. She disappeared on June 26, 2025 in New Mexico. It's something about the Southwest. Last seen walking along a highway without phone, wallet, or keys after taking her daughter to lunch, reportedly under financial stress. UFO program connection, LANL affiliation with nuclear classified access, administrative role, not core scientific. Status investigation, police suggest she may have left voluntarily. Relative noted stress, no foul play indicated. Okay, Los Alamos, very interesting. The New Mexico thing, it's that's where Los Alamos is, right, in New Mexico. So
vast desert, like you were talking about with, I think, Stephen Garcia. Like, she could get lost out there.
You could get lost, but they just like I think they told Bob Lazar during the time he had come out that he said something about his wife, or that between Las Vegas and LA is a lot of open desert, essentially paraphrasing, and like somebody could come up missing between LA and it's true. There's so much open desert that you could literally be 15 feet off the road and they probably would never find you, because just so many places to search for a missing person there. So,
to everybody in Roswell too.
Yeah, ask the mafia, right? The mafia is notorious for doing things out in the desert. So, I wouldn't put it past maybe some of these guys in these projects to try to do something like that. That'd be the place where you would know they wouldn't be found. So, with that being said, I think the last one I had written down on here was James Tony Moffett, which is, I think he's on this list. No, I don't think he is. Okay, there's a couple that are not on this list. They came up, and I don't, maybe they're connected, maybe they're not. Let me take a look here. Actually, no, I do have him. So let me go ahead and bring him up here. He's one of the latest ones. So let me go ahead and bring this up real quick here. There's actually a story someone wrote here on this gentleman here. And this is the title of the story. So it's another one. Aerospace defense engineer, military veteran, unalived in plane crash with family. So James Tony Moffett and his family passed away in a Mooney M20 crash in South Carolina, as the cause remains under investigation. House Oversight Chair James Comer expressed his concern about a, quote, sinister pattern in the mysterious deaths and disappearances of 11 U.S. scientists involved in nuclear, aerospace, and defense research Former FBI agent Nicole Parker analyzes the unusual cases, noting missing cell phones and wiped data. Separately, an Iranian national was arrested for allegedly trafficking drones and weapons for Iran, highlighting critical national security concerns for the White House and NASA. A decorated veteran pilot, aerospace engineer, and defense researcher was killed in a plane crash in South Carolina last week, raising concerns about whether the incident is related to the deaths and disappearances of 11 scientists tied to nuclear and space research. James Tony Moffat, 60, was flying with his wife, Lisa, maybe, Leasa, who was 61, and sons, Andrew, 30, and William, 28, when the plane crashed in a wooded area near the runway at Union County Airport in South Carolina on Friday, the Union County Coroner's Office said. The family from Huntsville, Alabama, was traveling from the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina to Huntsville, officials said, and had stopped in Union County, South Carolina, to refuel. The Union County Sheriff's Office said the crash occurred around 6:30 p.m. The family was flying a Mooney M20 single-engine aircraft. The National Transportation Safety Board said authorities have not yet released the cause of the crash as the NTSB and Federal Aviation FAA investigate the incident. Moffat is the latest scientist with ties to aerospace research and NASA to make headlines, with the deaths and disappearances of 11 individuals with similar backgrounds raising concerns. His son, Andrew Moffat, was also an up-and-coming researcher at the time of his death. The 30-year-old was a research engineer and scientist at the University of Alabama in Huntsville's Research and Engineering Support Center, according to UAH. The elder Moffat earned a master's degree in aerospace engineering from Georgia Tech in 1988 and previously studied as an experimental test pilot in the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School, according to his LinkedIn profile. Following his 21-year military career, Moffat worked as a payload and flight crew support specialist at NASA's Johnson Space Center Astronaut Office, where he participated in 14 Space Shuttle ISS construction missions. After retiring from the Army in 2008, Moffat founded aerospace consulting firm Moffat Systems, Inc., and later served as a principal research engineer at the University of Alabama in Huntsville's Research Center. He also worked on the Army's Degraded Visual Environment Mitigation Program and the Next Generation Unmanned Aircraft System Technology Demonstration. Moffat's experience draws parallels with several of the scientists who have either died or been reported missing since 2022. Michael David Hicks, Frank Mywald, and Nuno Loureiro. Jason Thomas, Amy Eskridge, and Carl Grimmeyer all died between 2022 and 2026. Monica Reza, Melissa Casillas, Anthony Chavez, Stephen Garcia, and retired Air Force Major General William Neal McCaslin were all reported missing throughout 2023 to 2026, with each of the disappearances occurring under suspicious circumstances. Both Reza and Eskridge shared similarities with Moffat relating to their NASA-based research, with Reza disappearing when she was the director of materials processing at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Additionally, several other scientists worked with defense labs, mirroring Moffat's experience as the founder of aerospace and consulting firm Moffat Systems. Andrew Moffat, a 30-year-old research engineer and scientist at the University of Alabama in Huntsville's Research and Engineering Support Center, died in a plane crash in South Carolina on April 21st, 2026, along with his parents and brother. Moffat's two sons were also ingrained in similar scientific fields at the time of their deaths. Andrew Moffat was a well-rounded and fine young man. His spirit made every day an enjoyable day. Jerry Hendricks, executive director of RSESC, said in the statement, "We will never forget his smile, inviting personality, and encouragement. He will be missed." William Moffat worked in the information technology industry and recently earned his Microsoft Certified Azure Administrator Associate certification and held CompTIA Security Plus and Linux Plus credentials according to his LinkedIn. This is a quote from Chairman James Comer, Oversight Committee. Quote, we put a notice out to the Department of War, the FBI, NASA, and the Department of Energy. We want to know everything they know about what happened with these scientists, because those four agencies were predominantly the ones these 11 individuals were affiliated with, he said during an appearance on Fox News, Fox and Friends. We want to try to piece this together. On Monday, NASA announced it would work alongside other federal agencies to investigate the incidents. Quote, NASA is coordinating and cooperating with the relevant agencies in relation to the missing scientists. NASA spokesperson Bethany Stevens wrote on X. Quote, at this time, nothing related to NASA indicates a national security threat. The agency is committed to transparency and will provide more information as it becomes available. Let's see here. It says, meanwhile, President Donald Trump has also vowed to look into the various occurrences. In a statement to Fox News Digital, the FBI confirmed the agency is working alongside other federal authorities in the investigation into the 11 missing and deceased scientists. Quote, the FBI is spearheading the effort to look for connections into the missing and deceased scientists, the FBI said. Quote, we are working with the Department of Energy, Department of War, and with our state and local law enforcement partners to find answers. Quote, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half, Trump told reporters last week. Quote, I just left a meeting on the subject. The White House, U.S. Army, and NASA did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment regarding whether Moffat's death is being investigated alongside the 11 scientists' deaths and disappearances. The Pentagon referred all questions to the U.S. Army and FBI. So he's the latest that might be tied to this. And I think it's a good practice. I think it's definitely a good practice to at least look at it, right? At least look at it. But I think it's also a good practice to, if there's nothing there, to take them off the list as well. So I would hope that this list begins to shift and change. Maybe we come down with a core 6 people that are strongly related to the possibility. That's enough. We don't need 20, 30 individuals, even though that would be crazy to see that there's that many individuals related to this, potentially disappearing or being unalive from the UFO program. But truthfully, even 3, 4, 5 would be enough, to cause great concern about the fact that there are entities out there that are willing to go to great lengths to keep people quiet when it comes to the UFO subject. And to back that up, as we saw earlier, you have Lou Elizondo and David Grush and all the other whistleblowers who come out and tell you they've been threatened at some point in time about coming out and talking about this. So is it so far off to consider that at least some of these individuals might have disappeared in relation to the UFO topic?
Very possible. I agree. The list needs to be filtered a little bit better. I think they're lumping a lot of things together because once the ball got rolling, every mysterious death or disappearance of anybody involved with NASA or the government gets added to the list. Like even David Wilcock, right? Which we discussed already, which is on the fringe of being related to this. So
Yes, yeah. And like I said, when we talk about this list maybe being too vast, the practice of them adding people to the list, I'm okay with. But let's do some vetting as well along with that, just like with data brought forward about UFOs and potential, like the Nazca mummies or things like that, where it seems ridiculous, seems unrelated, unconnected on the surface, but there's still a process you should go through, which is, hey, let's put it on the shelf. Let's kind of vet it real quick and do all the due diligence before we just say this isn't part of what it is, right? It's the same thing with these individuals. You know, on the surface, like I said, it didn't make sense to me before I dived into all this that even the general would be connected to specifically the UFO topic, his disappearance, I should say. But the more that this gets put together, there's okay, you know, it's plausible. But once again, as we stated earlier, there's a few couple on this list, at least two, you know, once you really dig into it, that doesn't really make sense as far as why they would have disappeared, how they would have disappeared, and not be found. And so when you look at that, those are the ones that at the end of the day, you know, and that's two. So that's two at least, maybe a few more that without a doubt, I would love to hear an opposing explanation on why they would have gone missing. You know, Monica Reza, just that one stands out. Like, who would just take her? Who would just take her? She's with her friends, with the group of people. Even if you had a kidnapper out there or the serial unaliver out there, you know, stalking in the woods, I just still don't see how that individual would be able to make this person disappear with a group of people present and no traces at all of anything anywhere. It just seems very unlikely to me. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, she was the most mysterious disappearance, right? Because there were witnesses. So everybody else, who knows? The stories could be cover-ups, right? If there is a conspiracy going on, then all of the different stories could be created in order to make it look like a mystery, even though it really wasn't. So no, I'm in agreement there. We'll see where it
And
leads.
again,
Hey, I just want to say thanks for for getting everybody's biography here, though. That was awesome. I mean, I don't know. I think everybody else agrees. I didn't know the background of all these, you know, what was 11 now is 13 people. So thank you for doing that, because that was
yeah, for sure. I think we needed that, right? We needed just some kind, just a little dive into who some, you know, and we were able to kind of talk through it because of that to kind of determine, like, okay, well, why would that person be added to the list? Kind of doesn't make sense. But yeah, nah, no problem at all. You know, that's what we have to do here. And like I said, Magneticus is obviously joking, West Coast Wood Ninjas, but in that maybe that's another name for the shadow government or whoever these individuals are that are out, the men in black, right, or the people that are out there silencing people, because we know that it's a thing, right? Whatever you want to call them, at the end of the day, there is a group out there that would not like people to talk about things they were involved in. We know that for a fact. And that makes, because we know that exists, and there are groups out there for sure that want people to be quiet, as evident by whistleblowers who have talked about running across the same things. It's just they are in the public light and they are on notice and alert that they could come up missing, and they've told everyone, like, hey, they said they might make me come up missing. You got a lot of people saying things like, I would never unalive myself, and making statements like that in the public, just so you know, if they end up coming up missing in mysterious circumstances like some of these people did as well, that it wasn't because they would have done this on their own. And with that being said, it kind of throws a monkey wrench in the, you know, in the operation as it were, with these groups that are out there doing this under the radar. Because if you don't say something, then you could be added to this list, and then there's this whole, well, would he really do this to himself? Would he really go out and walk away? Would he really? So if you say it up front, like, hey, I would never walk away from my life. I love my life. It's a beautiful life for me. I am, you know, looking forward to being here with my family and everything. Then okay, now you can't make that person disappear, or if you can, we can immediately put it on the list as a mysterious disappearance without even needing to dive too far into it. So that's what I wanted to cover. And it's only because this conversation is persisting in the news. More and more people are being added to the list, and if this ends up being, even like I said, a few of these people are literally being tied to disappearing because of these background government entities, then that's a big story. It's just as big as a story as the revelation that we're being visited by extraterrestrials and we have crashed craft. And if we have a government that's out there literally with a team of people making people disappear, it can't be a good thing. Can't be a good thing. And yes, Jay Trueseeker, thanks for coming on in. The list does get bigger every day. That's kind of why we're getting into this, because that's exactly what's going on here. Paramore, appreciate you. And he makes a connection here. So the guy says, so the guy was from Huntsville. Amy Eskridge was from Huntsville. Parent was, scientist there. We covered that a little earlier, possibly more, but haven't dug in enough. Yeah, Paramore, we actually broke that down a little bit earlier, and there are definitely some connections. The initial stuff they said, and the reason why they started putting the list together, they were saying, okay, we have like a few different agencies that all these people were tied to, one of these 2, 3, 4 agencies, and that they also held certain, similar clearances. They were all, some of these people were in the same sort of position with access as some of these other people, which made them kind of link this together to begin with. And yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Let's keep the list. Let's keep building the list, but let's also make sure that once we vet these, that we cross some of them off, because at the end of the day, this story is puts ufology, if you want to call it that, credibility on the line, because you have people that are fully diving into this, as these people are missing because of UFOs, because they were and not really giving it any thought. So if this turns out they investigated and none of these people were related to it, well, if you were the one that dived in head first, you probably have something on your nose. You probably got something on your face. And we're not going to be the ones to do that. We're going to kind of middle of the road this. What makes sense, what doesn't. Okay, this adds up. I don't see why this person should be there, but this person makes a lot of sense. That's weird. And we're going to kind of go through that as the story continues. Did you have anything else you want to talk about on that? Because we can jump into whatever, actually. Pick a subject. Do you have a topic, anything that you've seen in the news lately?
Well, I just wanted to add one thing that popped into my head as you were wrapping up that, I mean, it's very possible that the government could be using this conspiracy, if you want to call it that, these 13 people in the ever-growing list, as a means to dissuade whistleblowers, right? I mean, there's possibility that any one of these people could have actually had knowledge of everything that all of us are eagerly wanting to find out about. And there are many others that do too. What better way to discourage somebody from becoming a whistleblower than to put up in lights a whole bunch of people who have been unalived or have gone missing? That's just a thought that popped into my head as you were summarizing. I'm thinking, well, maybe this is a psyop by the government to scare people into not, becoming a whistleblower. I don't know.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. But I think the one thing that goes directly now against it is that because current whistleblowers have made everyone aware that there are these groups that are threatening behind the scenes, that now you have people consciously who would be targets coming out saying, specifically, I would never walk off. I would never unalive myself. I would never do these things, and let me put that on record. So I think that creates a barrier, or it just makes it more difficult for them to be targets. Not saying that they still couldn't be, but it'd be very hard to kind of go through with kidnapping one of these new whistleblowers when they've made statements in public like that. So, yeah,
Right.
they
Well,
could be
once you're a
still doing it.
whistleblower, you can't be kidnapped. But before you become a whistleblower, you could be off. So you're right. Like look what Bob Lazar did. Look what a few of the other
It,
whistleblowers did.
yeah,
By coming out, they protect themselves. But if if you haven't blown the whistle yet, and you're suspected of possibly doing that, now you're going to be concerned. You'll be like, well, if I imply that I might become a whistleblower, they could silence me before I do. Yeah, but once you've come out, you can't be silenced because then it becomes glaringly obvious. Somebody came
wh-
after you to shut you up, and they wouldn't do that, right?
which Bob Lazar said from the beginning. That's why he came the way that he did, because he understood that and like he stated, they told either him, I think they told him that his wife could come up missing, but somewhere between here in Las Vegas and LA. There's a lot of open desert, paraphrasing once again. So Bob Lazar made sure that he came out to the public and said, I'm here. This is who I and he's not been harassed for the most part. They
Right.
definitely have still tried to come at him in different ways over the years, but we're talking 40 years since he came out. Over, well, yeah, over 40 years now, and it's just or close to 40 years, and it's just a testament to he what whistleblowers need to do in order to not become victims. Because I don't think any of these individuals had ever stepped out publicly and made those sort of statements. If they did,
They would,
some
yeah.
of them might still be here
They
with
might
us.
still be
So
here. Matthew Brown did talk a lot about this too in some of his more recent interviews when in his initial interviews, I noticed he mentioned it, but in some of his more recent interviews, like over the past couple months, and I know he's kind of gone quiet again, he talked about it a little bit more about the threats and the people who were, you know, possibly telling him to, it's not a good idea for you to be talking about this. He mentions that. So they're there. There's no doubt that the threats are there. But once you've come out, you can't be you can't be silenced without it being glaringly obvious that it was done for that reason. Yeah.
exactly, and it makes it's more impactful in today's age because so many more people now are open to all this, and they're open to they probably would do something to you. Nobody really trusts the government when it comes down to it, and it's just a thing. Now, Walter Kokubinski, definitely want to thank you for coming on in. And Paramar as asked earlier or stated that some remote viewer must have looked into this by now. Jessica Jones, maybe, and it brings up a good point because if remote viewing is a thing, then I would think we should already have a remote viewer stepping in and doing this. I think that this is something. If remote viewing is a thing, then I think this should be part of this process. We should know where some of these people are. We should be able to have some information on it. You know what I mean? And that's not to discount or say that remote viewing isn't a thing because I don't know. I can't remote view. I do think that some of the trials they had done with the government back in the day just are still kind of unexplainable as far as how individuals were able to know certain things about things they weren't around. So I think there's definitely something to remote viewing, but it makes sense that if that's the case, we should be having the best remote viewers stepping forward right now to kind of help out with this situation. What do you think? Yeah, Stargate, Looking Glass, exactly. Exactly. What do you think about that? Remote viewers being a part of this conversation. Oh, I can't hear you. Think you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I muted myself. I was trying to find a window to unmute myself. Yeah, no, why not? I mean, that would be very helpful, but who do the remote viewers work for, right? Maybe they don't want the people who are in charge of the remote viewers don't want the answers to be revealed. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, there's probably enough independent remote viewers that could be brought to bear here. I mean, especially the missing people. like that Monica razor. That's the one that's really baffles me the most, right? There's got to be some explanation for that, but
Well,
bring it
this
on,
is
man.
where
Bring on whatever you
exactly
got.
bring it on, because this is where we should be able to show up and show out. So we have remote viewers, we have uh, you know uh, all sorts of people with abilities in this community, and we should be able to call on some of those things to assist in this. And I just, maybe we'll see that. Maybe someone will do that. And I just think that when it comes to credibility of the community, either we can do this or we can't. Either remote viewing is a thing or it isn't. And this is kind of a moment where we could really show, hey, this is a real thing, right? Psychics, for instance, right, which I think is sort of a spin-off of remote viewers, or maybe even hold some of the same abilities. I talked to psychics as an interviewer, and there was a time where I didn't really believe in psychics, and like, I don't know, it seems like a scam. But I've talked to people that knew stuff they shouldn't know. And so I know that there's something there, and it's just like, I guess we can maybe call upon that to help solve some of this. I hope they lean into that, or at least someone steps forward to help out as we kind of go through this. And we'll talk more about this as it goes. I'm sure the list will grow even more. But then at the same time, once they start canceling and getting really to the meat of who's really connected, then we'll do another show on it then. But I did want to kind of switch gears. Was there any, what else? I didn't really see anything going on besides this.
There
We
was one
talked
other
about,
thing that
yeah.
that I saw in the news recently. I was kind of curious to get your opinion on it. The whole Chuck Clark UFO video that just came out, the one that James Fox supposedly saw. Goodness, I don't know, it was 20 years ago or something like that. And now we've all finally got to see it. And I was curious what you thought of that. I don't know if everybody knows the background, but it's basically the orange UFO that was, near Area 51. Maybe you give a little background for everybody on that one. That could be a whole show within itself.
It's actually a great place to go, and I want to actually show it, because why not? Let's show it, because I know. And shout out to Carl. This is shout out to Carl Crusher, who has like over 3 million subscribers. Carl Crusher was a friend of Space Out Radio, so indirectly is a friend of this show. And I just hope he doesn't have any issue with us showing this video. He showed this on his channel recently, and I want to go ahead and show it here. So shout out to Carl Crusher. You guys, if you're not subscribed, he got 3 million subscribers. I'm sure you probably are, but if not, definitely go over there and hit that subscribe button for Carl Crusher. And let me go ahead and bring that up, because I think that would be good for people to see this if they haven't, and then we can continue talking about it. Let me bring that up here. I'm just a little guy, Carl Crusher. No YouTube strike us. Nothing but love, my guy. Nothing but love. Let me see. All right, let me get this going here.
From Chuck Clark, filmed over at the Black Mailbox near Groom Lake in Rachel, Nevada, has finally dropped on the internet. This is the original footage. You can see they're just filming it on like a TV or a monitor. And at the beginning of this, what you see is actually glowing light down on the dashboard of their car. In the original story, two guys drove out there to Groom Lake. They parked by the Black Mailbox, and they filmed this object getting really close right over top of their vehicle. And they filmed it out the window of the vehicle right above their car. Now, this footage was released with Bob Lazar and Jesse Michaels on the Jesse Michaels podcast, but this is the footage that Jake Paul claims that he went to Rachel, Nevada and met with Chuck Clark, and he snuck a hidden camera in and actually recorded this. And when he saw this clip, a little bit of this clip on the S4 documentary, the new Bob Lazar movie that came out, he kind of freaked out. And now,
when I was watching the trailer for S4 that you guys released, about 80% of the way through the trailer, you guys show a disc that is at night, but then kind of coats itself in this orange. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Dude, I paused it there and I said, oh my God, that looks exactly like the footage that I have. So this footage, supposedly authentic, was taken by two college kids who wanted to go to Area 51 in the 90s, I believe it was 1995, and film their experience of trying to see if they could stumble upon a UFO or just alien activity of sorts.
Let's break this down. A couple of college-age guys drove out to the Black Mailbox, an infamous landmark entrance point to Area 51. It's along the road that leads to Groom Lake, extremely close to where Bob said he worked. It's nighttime. They're parked right in front of the fence surrounding the secret facility. The lights are off on their car, and they have a camera resting on the armrest, pointed through the front windshield.
And then it cuts to under the dashboard, and you see something very clearly illuminating like the top of the dashboard, and they're like hunkered underneath the car, and they're whispering to each other like, I think it's out there, like I don't know what it is, maybe we should go out, and they're like kind of scared.
Then something appears just beyond the glass. The craft is hovering extremely close to the car. It's orange and slightly wobbling or undulating in place as if it's on a wave. You can hear the two guys whispering.
That to me is exactly how it was described by Bob. It's exactly like your hand did. Yes. It's moving the right way. Yeah. It's the right color and it's the right shape. So it makes it very compelling. The intensity of the light. There's something very, very bright that is affecting that. The dash is being lit. It's the dash of the vehicle, and the craft is above it. Right. And look at the intent. Here's the dash, and look at the intensity of the light that's going to happen here. Right. Wow. There. Those are really. Yeah. You can, and it's fading in and out. Yeah. You can't fake that.
You can see that it wobbles.
But exactly it wobbles.
Like your it wobbles. That's the important thing. Yeah. So it does comport with your video.
It wobbles. It glows like that in that color, in that shape. That's wild, dude.
Okay, let's watch the whole thing again. Now I cut out the part where it just shows the dashboard glowing. This is zoomed in of the alleged UAP that they filmed in the Chuck Clark video. And I gotta tell you, it's pretty wild. It does look like rippling iridescent plasma moving over the surface. Of course, this was filmed back in the 90s with a camcorder, and so it's definitely not high definition, but I've personally seen very similar things before. It makes me very interested. I don't live very far from Area 51. So this weekend I could drive over there and park by the Black Mailbox, go to Rachel, Nevada, and now I have advanced night vision and different optics and thermal imagers that I could take over there and try again. I've been over by Area 51 several times, probably about 10 times now, and I've only stayed out overnight a couple of times with night vision, and the few times that I've been over there, I've seen some pretty wild stuff. I even filmed a whole, in the daytime, a giant stealth bomber fly right over top of me. But what do you guys think about this footage? When it's slowed down, you can almost see different details on the craft. And there's been other people, like in Mexico and other locations, that have taken photographs, very clear photographs of very similar ones. They almost look like they're sheathed in plasma or kind of this glowing aurora that glows around it. This like almost like lava orange color. Really fascinating, man. I would really love to catch one of these on camera today with modern night vision, clear up close, maybe even a landing or something like that. It's not anything that I'm afraid of. Wow, you could see the energy and the light moving all of this all over this. It's like a ridge or a rim around the center of what could be a craft. I don't know, but here's a picture of one in 1994 in Mexico that was taken that is very similar. I think there's a picture of this one even hanging on the wall in the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada. They almost look like glowing living things or cells or something. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
Okay, all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me close, sir. All right, so very, 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 compelling. Let me switch. Okay, so what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel? How do you feel about the video? What does it make you feel like?
A few things. First of all, it was also interesting to get Bob Lazar's take as they were watching it together. If you recall, the glowing bottom of the disc matches what Bob described about the sport model when he saw that fly, right? He did say that there was a glowing plasma on the bottom of the disc. So that lines up. And the undulating and, that kind of movement that you see, that also concurs with how Bob described the discs when they flew. So that part is good. Now, if you look at it just from, the 10,000 foot view, what was going on when they were in the car and the light, kind of causing shadows inside of the car, that's very plausible. But what does that tell us? And then I guess the guy did step out of the car, much to the chagrin of his friend, and started the film where you actually saw the orange orb there, the orange glow. We can't see anything, dude. It's dark. So it's a great story. It's a good video, but for me, it's not a smoking gun by any means. But it all lines up with what was going on. It's 30 years, right? 95. So I said 20 years earlier. It's 30 years. So it lines up with how things were described at that time and even today. But I don't think it's any sort of earth-shattering video that gives us definitive proof that there was some alien disc flying around. You can't tell. It was dark, right? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I can agree with that. And here's a couple things for me. So first of all, he said Jake Paul, but that's Logan Paul. But either way, they're two scumbag guys, anyways. But with that being said, the video itself, it reminds me of 1990s special effects. It's just, yes, they do have a glow. They do have a plasma glow. We've seen the orbs show that. It is very compelling that they have images. That he had images from other events, and that's what I like to see. Those are receipts. I like to see other evidence, historical evidence that lines up with what it is we're being presented with, and they kind of do that. So there's a plus in that category. If there were no other images or accounts where something like this was seen, then I'd be fully just like, nope, this is fake. But my whole thought is, and when I'm looking at any sort of UFO video, it's like, okay, I feel like if someone fakes a UFO video, then they would do it in a way where you know what it is, and for me, if someone just showed this video, I don't know that I immediately go to UFO. I don't know that I immediately do that. But so there's some things that make it feel like, okay, maybe, but some of the takeaways, the guys in the car, that conversation, it bothers me because it feels more scripted, if anything. So you happen to catch this particular part of of the interaction, and then it just kind of cuts off. It says shoot the battery, and then it happens to cut off. So you stop looking at the UFO to determine that your battery is gone, like something this amazing right over your car that's lighting up your car, and you have the thought to look at your battery indicator on your device to know that it's about to shut off, and then boom, it shuts off as soon as you say that. And here we are. So that doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. There are definitely some things I could look at, man. I know Magneticus was talking about the stars moving fast across the screen. Those weren't stars about Magneticus. That was, according to James Fox, that was like degradation of the video because I guess they tried to process it and enhance it, and I think these were some of the effects. But another thing I can say is when we're talking about, yeah, and it was video of a video.
Yeah,
I think
we originally filmed it.
I think when you, and we all know this, if you're old enough to know, though, if you've ever used one of those old VHS camcorders, or you know that the film definitely degrades over the years. So something that was once clear gets that patina, that age on it over time, and I think maybe that's what is making me feel like 90s special effects, because it does have this vintage quality to it, like it's, from the film being so old. So I can understand that part of it, and maybe explains that away. But the thing that bothers me as well is that James Fox went out there in 95, and also I guess Logan Paul goes like a few years ago, and talks to the guy who has the actual film, and he won't produce the actual film. He let him see it, but why not bring this to the public? What does it do to you? And I'm speaking about Chuck Clark. What does it do to you to release a copy of that? Like, what is the downside for you? Why would you say no to something like that? And I believe Logan Paul showed up. I believe Logan Paul showed up with either $10,000 or $100,000, one of the two. He came with money and said he would buy the film or a copy of the film, and he totally rejects this, doesn't want it, doesn't want to release the film. And it's like, well, why? It's very easy to, and he didn't know that he was recording it as well. I guess he had this hidden camera on his shirt, and he kind of recorded it without his permission. But it's like, why wouldn't you release the video, especially 30 years down the line? Like, what reason could Chuck Clark give to not want to at least give a copy of the video? Like, that bothers me. That bothers me. Now, James Fox, I think he speaks from the heart when he talks about this stuff. And, I think sometimes he may look at this, and maybe it is very compelling, but then maybe it isn't, and maybe he wants to hope that it is, right? I kind of sometimes get that from James Fox. I love him to death, man. I think he does great work. I think he's really dedicated to the subject and dedicated to the topic. But I remember when he first talked about it, and he was like, no, there's this video, and it's definitely UFO. And I'm like, well, how can we definitely, if we really haven't, it's been 30 years since you've seen it. And then it's just like, we don't have, we haven't been able to vet it.
2002. He saw it about 20 years ago, I think. It was early 2000s when he
I thought it was like 95.
saw it. And I agree with you 100%. He got, well, that's when the video was made. But I think he saw it later. He didn't see it right after it came out. I think the video happened in 95, right? And then James saw it later. I saw an interview with him, and I think he mentioned 2002-ish, something like that,
Okay.
when he saw it. And yeah, you're spot on. James Fox 20 years ago was really impressed by this. I really wonder how James Fox today would feel about it. Maybe he's just maintaining his same thing, but you're right. He he was all gung ho. He's like, man, that's unbelievable. And then now, given what he's done over the past 20 years, would he be as impressed? I don't know. That's my thought too. I felt that he was a much more discerning critic of stuff like that. He did get excited about it back then, and I don't know if he would today, but who knows?
Yeah, well, I know for sure what he did do is he did confirm. There's a video he did within the last week or two where he confirms that what is being shown in that video is what he saw originally, is the same video of this object that he saw. And so he doesn't go any further to add any more context. He just verifies that, yeah, that's what I saw, and also states that it's a little degraded, from over time. But I guess when he saw it, it was fresh. It was still kind of new. And yeah, I mean, that was his perspective on it. Who are the guys in the car? And I guess maybe that's the reason why. Maybe that's why Chuck Clark doesn't want to release the video, because then those questions come into play. Who are these individuals? These are firsthand witnesses to this crazy UFO. Where are these guys at? Have they ever come out? Why wouldn't they come out and say, hey, we saw this weird thing? Why does Chuck Clark end up with the video? And why wouldn't this have been brought to one of the top UFO researchers? Or why wouldn't it have been put in the hands of them versus Chuck Clark, who's a guy out there in Rachel, Nevada, who's into the topic? But why would it go to him? Why would you give it to him? So I would need those questions answered. Chain of custody. Who are the guys in the video? If we step back, I could say this is from a low budget film about UFOs or a UFO movie, and this is one of the scenes from the movie. This easily could be a scene from an independent film from the 90s, and that's it. It could simply be that. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It could be. But you brought up a point earlier in the conversation to kind of do the flip side here. If they were going to fake something, you wouldn't one think they would do a better job, make it a little more convincing. It is kind of fuzzy and it is kind of unclear, and it matches all of the things Bob Lazar talked about, as we talked about earlier. So does that lend it any more credibility that it isn't crystal clear? If they were to go ahead and make a video and claim that this was something they recorded while they were near Area 51, wouldn't they have done something a little more convincing? I don't know. But that's my thought. Because it's so fuzzy and because it's not perfect, if we were there and it was dark, that's probably all you would have seen, right? So I don't know.
And also here's another thing.
View. Yeah.
Here's another thing. And once again, James Fox has done a lot of great work. So I'm not saying this to discount who he is or what he's done for the subjects. I think he's done a lot with a lot of great documentaries. But one of the things he pointed out that made him feel like this was real or that this was authentic, he's like, because it's wobbling, it's doing this. And then because it was doing that, while it's apparently over the car, you see light moving around the dashboard. And he pointed that out. He was like, you can see like the light kind of moving around the dashboard. But if this object is completely fully illuminated, why would there be any disparity in the light disbursement on the dashboard if this thing is completely aglow? If it's completely aglow, emitting light, why would there be any sort of dark areas, even if it was doing this? Wouldn't it still pretty much be illuminated? If it's the light is moving around the dashboard, that's indicating there's a light source that is kind of obstructing and coming in view and obstructing as it's doing that. But if it's fully aglow, then why would you have that sort of light pattern on the dashboard? Maybe a lighting specialist can kind of chime in on that, but doesn't make a lot of sense to me, that part. So
Maybe it was moving around. I mean, undulating in place is one thing, but if it's doing this, then yeah, the angle of the light into the
okay.
maybe it was
Okay.
moving, which,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, okay. That makes
that's
sense.
what Bob said. These things don't really sit still very well. They're kind of like trying to float on, use their anti-gravity to try to keep themselves above the ground. So it's got to push a little here, push a little there, and that's what ultimately does. So yeah, maybe it was
Okay.
moving. The light
That
wasn't
makes
going too
sense.
fast. I remember during that part. So no, I mean that part of the video could be legit. I mean that's why I'm saying is it's weird. Uh, here and you brought it up. You got to you got to vet the source here. You got to talk to the two guys, and if they were out there and really were there that night, and somebody can corroborate that, well, then that makes a big difference. Otherwise, we get this unknown video from unknown guys, from people who recorded a video of a video getting played on a TV. That's not good enough. We need more, but
Unfortunately, and
obviously
Chuck,
James Fox believed, Chuck, the whole thing. He believed him, so that's why he gave it a lot of credibility, and I don't blame him. I mean, we don't know the history. Chuck Clark, maybe he's a trustworthy guy. I don't know.
well, and then here's the other part. At a time when UFO videos are far and few between, especially amazing ones, then maybe something like this comes across your table back then. That this gives it, the credibility because you're just not used to seeing things like this, right? So it's like, it's before, still in the Photoshop time frame, but as far as like the average person being able to create these graphics and not really happening back then, but if it was part of a movie that just was never released, I could see that. I could literally see that scene being from some sort of film that someone had done. But and then, like I said, it's not like it's super graphics. I mean, it's just a glowing thing. I'm pretty sure in the 90s, 2000s, someone could probably replicate that. If you said, hey, could you replicate this thing that they're showing on this video? I'm pretty sure it could be done. I'm pretty sure someone, because it wasn't really technical, it wasn't really detailed. I'm pretty sure with a couple light tricks and filters that someone probably could put something like that together. That I think that could be recreated back at that time. So I don't know, man. The jury's out. Chuck Clark, release the video. If it's real, release it. If it's not, then, and maybe it wasn't meant to be talked about, which is why he never released it. It was meant to be something that no one spoke about. And the only reason why it did get out there is because James Fox happened to see it and wanted it. He asked him to give it to him, I think he said, or something along those lines. So I don't know. Maybe it was never meant to be seen by anyone because it wasn't real. And you know how someone tells a lie and it kind of the lie gets away from you, and now you have to continue with the lie now because it's out there now. And maybe it was one of those things between him and James came over and he's got to show the video and pretend that it's real, and then now James thinks it's real, and so it could be something simple as that. We may never know unless we see something else. Once again, it does go in the database, right? It doesn't. There's things for it, things against it, and just like the images Carl Crusher showed in the video, maybe we see something current day that looks like that. Then if we do, then we can go back to this video and validate it and say, well, yeah, there definitely are things. We've caught something current day, because I don't think it should have been a one-time thing. If they have other images of this type of craft, I think it would still be seen current day as well, just like orbs and all these other things that are being shown, as evident in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where pretty much everything they show in that movie 50 years ago, we're still seeing exactly as it was, drawn out 50 years ago. Same objects, because they're still here, they're in the skies. So I would anticipate that maybe sometime in the future, if that was real, we should see another glowing object that looks like a disc in the sky at some point. And if you think about it, the object, was the object above the missile silo, something like that? For some reason, I'm feeling like
No, it was
someone told us.
Oh, there was an object that had an orange glow. It was one of the Air Force bases, the nuclear sites.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think it was Salas' encounter, but it
Yes, that
was it
an orange
his.
glow. The
Okay.
Bob Salas story that he tells says his guards who were on the surface, right? Because he was down below, he didn't see any of it. The guards saw an orange object over the base.
Okay.
And
Okay. Okay.
big, and then it left. So yeah, it was very similar.
Well, I guess that could be a corroborating thing, because once again, there's things for, there's things against, and maybe the color itself. Just as far as if you're trying to corroborate it, maybe the color itself, being that the color, that orangish reddish color, has been reported on other encounters. Maybe that's enough. And if we go back and think about it, okay, does someone have the knowledge of historical sightings to know that sometimes they're orange and red? So that, once again, I'm not saying either way if it's really real or not. I don't know, but I could see that there are things for it and things against it. So, it's a fun conversation to have.
Good stuff.
Right. We are past the 2 hour mark. So we're just going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up. I got a show coming up here that I'm setting up with the UFO News Show. And we will be covering, let me see if I actually have the thumbnail here. We'll be covering something that I think needs to be covered. So let me bring this up here. We haven't done one of these in a while, obviously, because stuff that I'm dealing with. But I can say that I have the opportunity to potentially do something here. So let me bring this up here. This will be the thumbnail. It's just, these shows, obviously we can talk about stuff, but the UFO News Show, we go into depth and do things there. So I want to make sure that we don't go too long without doing that. And let me remove this here. Oh, share this image. Okay, so this will be the show here. Move the banner. And make sure you're here for this, guys. This is game over. Essentially, what we're talking about is the drone incursion, right? Are they drones? They're still around. There's an Air Force base, I think, down in Louisiana that is currently experiencing these quote-unquote drones, these drone swarms. And we really need to take a look back. Let's take a step back to really think about if these are drones. Very likely not drones, especially with the fact that they, are incurring over these military installations. We're not doing anything about it, or we can't. That's evident in the UFO Hellfire missile video that was released by Congress. It's showing that if we try to do something to these, we just can't do anything. So, is it game over? Like, are these things really putting themselves in a position Maybe they understand that these are military bases. Maybe they understand that, this would be the first line of not necessarily attack, but occupation in order to control the bigger narrative of whatever their mission is or whatever they're here for. So we're going to be talking about that and a lot more here on this show. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll be doing this, I think, Wednesday coming up this coming week. And then we'll talk about it on next Friday's show. So with that being said, Mateo, do you want to go ahead and leave everybody with something for we shut it down?
Awesome. Great topic. And I hope, as everyone else does, that things continue to go well with you and your family and all the matters that
Appreciate
you've
you.
been dealing with, so that we can get a Wednesday show on a great topic like that. So, no, that's all I have to say. Great to hang out again.
Awesome stuff, and I appreciate you, man. I do appreciate it. My family member does as well, and like I said before, healing energy works. It definitely works, and hopefully at some point in the future, I will explain and kind of go further into detail as we get through this process, and whatever our result is. Just keep putting those prayers out there, and I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming in, Mateo, having this conversation. We'll talk again in a minute, man. I'm going to wrap this up. All right. Take care. All right, guys. Another awesome show, Friday night call-in show. Once again, this show is for you guys, right? So it's awesome, when you chime in the chat. That's great. There's been a lot of great things put in the chat as far as topics and things that we're talking about within this community. It's fun to kind of go over the what ifs and what are the reasons why, and kind of working through that process, because this channel is all about truth, transparency, getting to the answers, right? That's all we want here. We want to know why these things are here, why this is going on, what are the implications, and then what can we do with this information, right? As we go ahead and move through this. So appreciate you guys coming in, talking about it. Appreciate Mateo coming up on the stage. Shout out to Cosby Joe, everybody out there. Woo Riders DG, appreciate you coming on in. Let's see, Magneticus Attractus, thanks for coming on in. We got Hillbilly Herb out there, came on in. Appreciate showing on up to the show here tonight. Trying to get as many people as I can, because I do appreciate you guys. Christine, she came through. Wow. Okay. Thanks for coming on in, Christine. Long time no see. Thanks for showing up. Also, Roger Murray in the building. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. Going back here. We had a troll come through. Shout out to the troll. Thanks for your support of the show, troll. Jay True Seeker, appreciate you coming on out. Paramarv as well. Walter Kokubinski, thanks for showing up tonight. Get back in this list here. We had a lot of engagement, and I do appreciate you guys. Let's see. Aussie Ange, missed you. Thanks for coming on in, Aussie Ange. Thanks for showing up here. Let's see. Aussie Ange, and obviously Aussie means she's on the other side of the globe, coming on in from the land down under. So we always appreciate that. Woo Riders EG, thanks for keeping us locked in. Mons Paradigm 5, thanks for coming on in, hanging out with us tonight. Hope to see you back as well. And Kitty Catty Whack. Can't forget Kitty Catty Whack. Kitty Catty Whack, thanks for coming in. Jessica S, thanks for coming on in. The connection's bad. I hope it got better. We tried to I had an update on the system, and I think that might have affected some things. So I'll have to watch this show back, and we'll be able to tell. Area 51, hold on. Once again, came through with the GOAT super chat, and I do appreciate you. Let's give him another round of applause. Awesome dude, man. Area 51 is an awesome dude. He brings the heat, never to sleep. That's him. Brings the heat, never to sleep. Also, Bad Frankie B, thanks for coming in and thanks for being a member. Also, Lil Cam 51 just become a member as well. Once again, that's how you help support the channel. We do have super chats that are open, is evident. We also have memberships, which help us put on a better show for production value, subscriptions, and all these things we need to pay for to put the shows on. Kind of helps with that. We're normally more active right now, but I have this situation that I'm going through at the moment with the family member, not doing that great at the moment. So hopefully very soon we get back to business. We have this show. We also have the After Hours radio show, which I'm actually trying. I have guests already lined up, but I might just do one. So don't be surprised if we just pop up with the show tomorrow night. I might just have a friend on, someone that I know very well, to come on and kind of just get our feet wet with that show. So don't be surprised if you see that. Hit the notification bell as well, and you'll know once we are ready to get it in. Outside of that, it has been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. I appreciate the love and support. It means a lot. And I hope that we came through for you tonight, and we will always continue to raise the bar right here on the Social Dig Friday night live call-in show. You guys have a great rest of your night. Take care of each other. And guess what? We are out. Later.